Hello guys, my name is Costa and welcome back to programming in Python. For today's lesson, we're going to be doing this. We are going to be doing selection with if. Okay, so this is a very common thing that's used in programming is if statements, and these are a piece of code. So when you write an if statement, you write some code below it, and what this basically does, it only executes this piece of code under certain circumstances. And in programming, we call this selection. The most common way of doing this is using an if statement. So we will say, if this is true, for example, run this piece of code. And in Python, we use these Boolean comparison operators. Boolean, from previous lessons, you should know that Boolean means true or false, and this is when Boolean is mostly used, is to compare. Is something equal to, not equal to, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Different programming languages would use different signs for each of these, but these are the ones which are used in Python. As in Python, you probably have seen me use the equal sign to mean assign. So let's say assign the value of Diogo to name. One equal sign means assign. While when you do two equal signs, what's that doing is it's checking, is this equal to? So one is used for assigning, and one is used for comparison reasons. So we're going to go through the example that the PDF has given us. So they've assigned a variable called letter equals a, and this their example, if letter, and what you should notice is when I put the if, it went to orange. Now it went into orange because it's telling us you're doing a selection. There are different selection types, and there is for, while, and else. There are different types of these, but for today's lesson, I think it's just if statement. I know we will be actually working through some of these. Yes. So if you see the else if or elif, I just say it's else if because it's just a shortened version of else if, but they just call it elif. In Python, other programming languages may not have this. There's else as well, and those are the ones we're going to be looking at today on this video. So let's continue anyway. If letter is equal sign, if letter is equal to a, now this is very important, you must put a colon. If you don't, it won't work properly. An error message will appear complaining about some silly things. Anyway, what you should notice is with that colon, it seems like the cursor has moved. It doesn't seem to be in this position. It seems to be in this position. That's very important because that shows us that this piece of code has been indented. Now, indented is when there's a space between there's a space from over here to over here. There's this space over here. Now, indented is very important if statements because you're required to indent, so the program knows that this is the code that you want to run if this happens. Otherwise, the program will be quite confused because if I start writing over here, it will act like this is normal code that's always supposed to be run. Because this will always run, but if it was indented like this and it was below this if statement and it was false, it would not run. You'll see this. So if I do print, this is very common again. This is a very common error that people make is that they forget to actually indent. And again, indenting is just pushing it away from the left side of the screen. Now, one way to indent in the Python IDE is instead of doing spaces to move, if you go all the way back, you click on tab, and that indents. That, as you can see, that just moves the cursor. You can see that just moves the cursor around. If I backspace, it does. So if I indent a backspace, it'll move exactly the same amount that I've indented it. Now I'm going to show you over here something. Let me just print test. Let me actually save this then. This is lesson 6. Not a folder, we don't want a folder. No save. There's selection with if. So again, so let's go through this code. Assign the value a to the letter variable. If letter is equal to a, this prints if letter is a. What you also notice is that there is a tester here. The reason that appears test is because it's not indented, it doesn't count to be as part of the if statement. But if I did indent this, right, and what I did just there was go backspace, then click on enter, as you can see it does in the same place, it prints out. But what if I was to change this to B, it wouldn't print out anything. Because it doesn't meet the certain criteria or circumstance when letter is equal to A. If the letter is not equal to A, it will not print this. This is only if the letter is equal to A. Okay? And if we had this at B, and this was outside of the if statement, so if it's not indented, it'll print out test. Because it doesn't count that as part of the if statement. So indenting is very important. It can drive you mad bonkers because you may not notice the issue. We can add as many statements as we want inside the if statement. Each should be indented, like the program's telling us, to indent. We need to have it indented. This prints as well. When we want to stop the if statement, we remove the indentation. As it says again, so this, oh yeah, print. So it's no longer indented. So that means it will print it all the time. Doesn't matter the circumstance, it will always print it out. Whatever the letter is. Let's put a space in here. I like to do that so I can say, oh yeah, it's more clear. Because when you have over here, it's not as clear. That's outside of the if statement, it's more clear. I like to have some spaces between this. So I can say, okay, here's the variable assigned, here is the if statement. It makes it more clear with the spaces. We can tell the computer to do something different when the condition isn't true using else keyword. So let's start with the else statement. Else, now this one works a bit differently. You don't write any condition. You just put a colon, bam, that's it. You don't need to write any other condition. This would be different if we were to use the else if, but with else, you usually don't put any other circumstance. This would do, what the else will just do is, if letter is not equal to A, do this instead. Print. This prints if the letter is not an A. Okay, yeah. Just making sure to see where will this go. Is it still, yeah. We're going to the, they just want to be below the else statement. Okay. Let's print. And always make sure that your print function is correct. It will turn purple to show it is a function. So Prints of letters A, this prints as well, this prints out whatever the letter is. Yes, that all works fine. Now I'm going to copy this because now, so they want us to now add is an else if statement. So let's do that. Else if, and again, these orange statements, selection keywords, whatever you're to call them, they cannot be there, so you shouldn't have an else if statement over here. Sometimes you may have if statements inside of if statements, but for this example, you don't have that. Also, if letter is equal to B, print this letter, or this prints, sorry, this prints if the letter is B. Okay. Well, they changed the else statement to print what? Let's get rid of that. This prints if letter is not, or is neither. They changed it to neither. Neither A or B. A or B. Okay. A note on indentation. Let's actually zoom in on this a bit. You may not be able to see that. When you start a new line after a colon in your code, if writing inside the idle, which is this is called the Python idle, which stands for, if you're wondering, it stands for Integrated Development Environment. And yes, Python is the only one who calls it idle. Other IDEs called, such as Visual Studio, which I use for writing in C#, they call it an IDE. For some reason, people behind Python decide to call it idle. They decide to make development 2 words. They want it to stand for 2 words, okay. You should find your code indented. Yeah, so whenever you do the colon, the line's automatically indented for you. And that's to do a lot with the IDE. That's not the program language, that's the IDE. So where you write, so different IDEs work differently. Some may have that feature, some may not, etc. Lines will keep indenting until you press backspace. Python knows that anything indented is inside the structure with the colon, in this case, the if. Indenting is considered good practice in all programming languages as it makes code easier to read. That's true. A lot of programming languages do force you to indent when you do if statements and any other selection statements. But in Python, this is even more important as it affects the code's meaning. Yes, it does, because like I've shown you, having this not indented means it does not count as part of this selection. This will always run no matter what. There's no criteria or circumstance to make it run. It will always run. For more complex conditions, we can use and, or, and not. These are when you do Boolean algebra, for those in computing, this is something that that's quite important as well. This applies again in computing theory and in programming. The and or not are used in both Boolean algebra and programming. When you are confined condition. Confident condition. I'm saying confined. Confident. When you are confident conditions with if, should try to find out about these to make your code more efficient. Okay. So yeah, let's go through these. So these are not even tasks, these have just been examples. So let's go through this. I'm going to copy and paste this, because otherwise this is just going to take ages for me to type in everything. So let's go through this. And again, I like my spaces. I do like my, indent that please, indent that, and I like my spaces. Okay. So this is, so x, actually let's just run the program and go through it actually. So enter a number between 1 and 100, let's say 50. You enter the valid number, okay. So let's get, let me get the Boolean operators, and let's go through what this piece of code is exactly telling us. If x, which is the number we entered, is greater than or equal to 1, and x is less than or equal to 100, you have entered a valid number. Else you entered a non-valid. So basically, if your number is equal to 1 or greater, but is equal to 100 or less than, so anything between 1 and 100, the number is valid. So let's try that. So let's say we enter 500. Your number is not valid. Let's say we enter minus 5. Let's run that. Minus 5. Your number is not valid, so it must be between 1 and 0. And we can test that. See if 1 works. Yes, because it's greater than or equal to. And 100. Yeah, because it's greater than or equal to 100. So yeah, they use the AND operator. So this and this will make this valid. So it must be equal or greater than 1, and it must be less than or equal to 100. There are others which they've shown over here that you can use, and or. So we've used and, but there's also or not that you can also use. A common mistake would be writing if line as if x. Yeah. This is something over here. You must. This is something over here in Python. You might use the x over here, but a lot of common mistake people make is when they want to use the and or not. A lot of people forget to include this variable, forget to include the variable. You must be comparing to something, because the program's like, okay, if x is greater than or equal to 1, and if less than or equal to 100. But you're comparing less than or equal to 100 to what? What do you want me to compare this to? If statements do not have to compare just variables. You could have a number over here and check it out. You could do that as well. They don't have to be in variables. And that's it for that. So now we've got to actually do some tasks, because we have not actually even done any tasks yet. This has just been examples. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comment all this out. You can do Control A to select all. Very handy. And we'll start with task 6A. Copy and run the code below. So let's just copy this and paste it. Let's actually just make this over here. There we go. Just a bunch of enter. And again, I'm making it more clear because I want spaces. I think it looks very unneat when you don't have spaces. Okay, let's get rid of that. We don't need that. Okay. Need a space between this one. Okay, so change the question so it asks for the capital of England and gives appropriate answers to different entries. So let's just change this. What is the capital of? Not that. Yeah. What's the capital of England? There we go. Okay, so if city is equal to London, well done. If the city is equal to, let's say, Kent, and let's put E as that. There we go. Below is a program that asks for 3 numbers and outputs snap if they all match. Use your knowledge of and, or, and not operators to make the program more efficient. So let's do this. Let's get these. Let's just do some bunch of entering so this can go up. There we go. Let's do this. Interesting. Does this have him? No, it doesn't. Okay. want to indent this. So now now we have is if statements inside of if statements. This does get common as your code becomes more complex. You may need for this to actually happen. You may need some actual if statements instead of other if statements. So let's see, if 1 is equal to 2 and if 2 is equal to 3, make snap, else they do not all match, else they do not all match. Okay, now let's make it more efficient. That's quite simple. You gotta make 1 equal to 2, and I don't think you need these brackets. Let's remove that. And 2 equal to 3. Then do snap. There we go. Don't think you need these brackets over here. Let's try this. That's yeah, hold on. Space. Run that again. Undone. 3, 3, 3. Snap. Yeah, that works. You don't. I don't know why they're the brackets. Let's try 1. That's not snap. 2, 6, 2. They do not all match. Let's try 0, 6, 3. They do not all match. Okay. Don't know why they're brackets. You don't need brackets. Don't know why they have them. But you can have brackets. Some program languages does force you to actually have brackets. In Python, you don't need brackets. Some say it just looks better with brackets as well. You know, it makes it more clear to exactly what you are comparing to. You know, something like this makes it more clear. But you can have it if you wish to. So last task is the grade boundaries. Okay, so we're doing some grade boundaries. I could just do this. No. Actually, no, I can't. I need to have the equals. Okay. Anyway, the grade boundaries for the test are u equals 0, do well. I recommend that asks for the marks and says the grade what it's worth. Okay. So let's copy one of these. So example. Put this as marks. Please enter marks. If marks is equal to 0, print yeah. I'm just going to do some copy and pasting over here. Right. Else if marks is equal to 40, change this to a D. Else if change it to a C. Else if actually C needs to be 50, 60, 70. 60 is a... I know what the total marks on this, it doesn't tell me. Because what if you write like a negative number? Whatever. Doesn't exactly tell me. So I'll just write else. Try else invalid. And let's put that colon. Else invalid. So let's put under marks 80. We'll put invalid, and let's say we did 70. So as we get to that, A. Okay, that should all work. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys next. Hope to see you guys very soon. Not next, honestly. Where we'll be looking at making programs easier to read. Hope to see you guys very soon. Goodbye.